Welcome to episode 6 of my exotic tier list. In this episode we are reviewing Legend of Acrius, which is the first raid exotic in Destiny 2 and the first raid exotic I've ever gotten because I didn't have to do a raid to get this one. Here's the exotic tier list so far. There's still a pretty good spread, so we'll see how Legend of Acrius fits in. Legend of Acrius is one of only 2 heavy exotic shotguns in Destiny 2. Now, prior to, I think, Forsaken, every legendary shotgun in the game was also a heavy shotgun, but then they rejigged things. This is like 7 years ago, you don't need to worry about this anymore. Point is, there used to be loads of heavy shotguns, there's now only 2. So, there's Legend of Acrius, and there's also Tractor Cannon. And Tractor Cannon, in my book, does not classify as a shotgun, because what it is it just debuffs an enemy. It is a shotgun, but in what world is it actually a shotgun though? Legend of Acrius is actually a rather underwhelming exotic at first glance. The exotic perks it has are Shock Blast, which says this weapon fires blasts of high damage arc energy that overpenetrates enemies, and Long March, which says detect enemies on your radar from further away. Honestly, whenever I first started using this weapon, I did not understand why people like it so much. I really hated it, to be completely honest. I didn't enjoy it. It sounded kind of whack. Didn't enjoy it whatsoever. But I did know that there was a catalyst for it. So the catalyst, thankfully, adds the absolutely almighty trench barrel to this weapon, and upon doing so transforms the experience from why am I using some random Cabal Legionary secondhand trash to this is the best gun in existence, please give me it all the time. Thanks to the catalyst, Legend of Acrius does a kind of insane amount of damage due to the fact that it is trench barrel, which is incredible, but it also has 6 shots in the magazine instead of 2, which the base version of Legend of Acrius has, even though Light.gg says it should only have 4, which I'm very confused about. Due to these 2 things, the normal Legend of Acrius feels like hot trash, and the catalyst Legend of Acrius feels like the best thing in the game. I've never seen such a big disconnect between the base version of a weapon and it with the catalyst. It's kind of insane. Due to the vast difference between the non-catalyst and catalyst version of this weapon, I've had to account for both versions in my stat sheet, and I've also decided to compare the exotic with 2 special legendary shotguns, as comparing it with other exotic shotguns wouldn't really work because they all feel really different. Fourth Horseman, for example, also does quite a lot of damage, but it shoots extremely fast. It only has like 4 shots in a magazine. It's a very different weapon, so I decided to go with more traditional shotguns. That is Igloss Shotgun version 1.0.3 and until its return. I'll chuck the chart up on screen here. I'm not going to talk through everything because I went way more in depth than I really needed to, but at a glance, damage. Acrius does 3 to 4 times more damage than the legendary shotguns, which is kind of crazy, and that just goes to show how much damage it actually does. The shot damage with trench barrel increases it a good chunk as well, so that's very important, and you can see the difference with the legendary shotguns. It's the same percentage, I believe. It's just because Acrius does so much more damage, it does more damage whenever you get a percentage buff added to it. The damage per mag is really skewed, because you can see Acrius and the base Acrius and the legendary shotguns do basically the same, whereas Catalyst Acrius does way more because it has 6 shots instead of 2. DPS is a bit misleading because you have to, with the base calculations, really factor in reload speed and stuff, which I did. This is just within the magazine, how much DPS it does. That's why normal Acrius seems to do more DPS than Catalyst Acrius, but it's because there's like less time between shots, really, if you've got 2 shots versus 6. I also don't do calculations quite correct, but it's interesting nonetheless. The reload speed of Catalyst Acrius is shorter than the reload speed of normal Acrius in terms of a single shot being reloaded, but that is still longer than the legendary shotguns reloading, which are essentially the same. For the reload speed of the entire magazine, you can see that base Acrius has the shortest reload of the 4 guns. However, that's because it only has 2 shots, whereas Catalyst Acrius has 6. And honestly, the fact that there's only 100 frames in between the 2 versions, despite there being an extra 4 shots for Catalyst Acrius, is kind of crazy. The other 2 shotguns have about 7 or 8 shots in the mag, hence why they also are essentially the same as Catalyst Acrius. The range on Acrius is just shorter than the legendary weapons, but honestly it's a shotgun, it's not that big a deal. And aim down sight speed, which again, it's a shotgun, doesn't really matter, is much longer on Acrius than it is in the legendary shotguns. I think these stats do a really good job of showing the difference between the 2 versions of Acrius here. It's crazy to me that the Catalyst not only does substantially more damage, also has 3 times the amount of bullets in a magazine, and also reloads. I mean, how much quicker is that? Roughly 15% quicker. It's an incredible increase to damage, reload speed, the amount of shots you have. it transforms this weapon. Getting away from the statistics a bit here, I think the reason why the Catalyst does so much for Legend of Acrius goes back to the very first year of Destiny 2, and having said this, I never played the Leviathan raid properly, and I certainly never intended on getting Legend of Acrius originally. But if my memory serves correctly, I think you got a quest after having played the Leviathan raid, and it was then, I think you got the Legend of Acrius shotgun as like a base version, and then you upgraded it over the course of a quest, and I think that would have then added these sort of stat bonuses to it as you completed different steps. So you would have got the reload speed increase, you would have got the extra shots in your magazine, and you would have got the trench barrel perk added to it. But because they vaulted that raid at some stage, and then Catalyst also came along after year 1 of Destiny 2, I don't remember exactly when, but Catalysts weren't in the game whenever it released. They sort of bundle everything into the Catalyst and give it a Catalyst. And I think that's how it works, because of course you can get Legend of Acrius from the altar where you can get the old exotic weapons, because you can't actually obtain it in the game properly now, you just have to spend Spoils of Conquest on it. So I think that's why this is the case. I think it's probably why it's the only weapon in the game which has such a big difference between the base version and the Catalyst version. Having said all this, my experience with Legend of Acrius was very, very strange. At the start, as I said, I really didn't enjoy the weapon. I didn't understand why it was ever really liked, or why at some stage it was liked or whatever. But as I used it more, as I got the Catalyst, and I actually was able to do a lot of damage with it and stuff like that, and use like an actual gun, I came to really enjoy the weapon. It does really good damage against bosses. I really enjoy melting things with it. I really enjoyed using it during the Haunted Altars of Sorrow and melting the bosses with it. It was really enjoyable. But honestly, it has went from probably trash tier, honestly, base Legend of Acrius, hot trash, with the Catalyst, absolutely A tier. So I'm in half a mind to plop the two versions on the tier list and just split it at the opposite. I might actually do that, because with the other weapons the Catalyst doesn't change an awful lot, especially not enough to make a weapon go from this is trash to this is the best thing in the game. But with Legend of Acrius, it's effectively like having two versions of the gun. So that's what I'll do. Catalyst Legend of Acrius, you are S tier. I will keep using you for as long as Destiny 2 lives. I look forward to melting many a boss with you. Base Legend of Acrius, get in the trash! I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Exotic Tier List. Please let me know your opinions of Legend of Acrius in the comments below. Is it worth it being put in the trash, or is it also worth being in the S tier? You may let me know. The next episode, I'm not actually sure what it will be, because I'm going to deviate slightly from my book-driven exotic weapons, because I really struggled to get this one out, and I think I'm going to start just mismatching the different exotics. So we'll see. Until then, have a good time. Bye bye.